Welcome back for another video. It's a blank game week and the majority of us are having to make at least one transfer this week. What are the top all-time managers doing though? How are they lined up for Gameweek 31? Let's run through it all. Andrew Moore is the top ranked expert after 30 game weeks now. He's taken the top spot after a score of 64 points for a new rank of 284th in the world. Well played if you managed to beat the average expert score, which was 59 last week. The global average was 43. There's 10 other experts in the top 10k of Andrew, and Lowe's just 1 or 2 points outside. Like many, Andrew's in a position where he's currently fielding less than 11 players for the next game week, so he's going to have to make at least one move. In Andrew's case, he's doing Gue and Rice to Bowen and Wilson, but we'll have a look at what everyone else is doing next. So 20% are going to roll this week. Now make no mistake, if you're in a position where you've got an 11 out and there aren't any major upside transfers, then leaving your team as it is could be a better longer term play. Now, for example, Alderete to Anderson might get you an extra 4 points if Fulham keep a clean sheet and if Sunderland concede, or maybe Alderete gets DEFCON and it's even closer than that. Maybe Fulham concede and you only gain like 1 point. Whereas rolling, if possible, does set you up for the run-in better, where we've got a double Gameweek 33 and a double Gameweek 36 expected, plus a blank Gameweek 34. It's also possible that we could have a smaller double game week somewhere else and a smaller blank game week. So yeah, bank transfers are king when we head into the business end of the season. A huge number of transfers though this week. As I say, 80% are making at least one move. So who are the most bought and the most sold among the top all-time managers? Number one this week surprised me a little bit. It's Cielo, who 33% of the experts are buying. Second most bought is also a Newcastle player, 26% buying Gordon, and then Wilson, Anderson and Bowen. Defensively, Fulham and Newcastle are the only teams that look worth targeting this week. I mean, their clean sheet odds are significantly better than the other teams at least. Newcastle obviously a little bit disadvantaged by the fact that they had to play in the Champions League on Wednesday before the derby, which ended 7-2 to Barca as well. So in theory, the Fulham defence makes the most sense with 4% better clean sheet odds. However, it is a bit more nuanced than that. Anderson's the best pick at Fulham. But beyond that, I guess it's Tete or Bassi. And Tete and Bassi are only hitting DEFCON half as frequently as Anderson. Only 7.8 per 90 DEFCONs for Bassi, for example. Chow is averaging far more and he carries a lot more goal threat off set pieces and corners. He's scored 4 times this season, which is joint most. One more than Gabriel even. One thing to mention with Chow, however, is that he's a bit more of a robust pick depending on chip strategy. Like after Burnley home, Fulham have got Liverpool away and they've got Brentford away and no potential double Gameweek 33. Whereas Chow can be played beyond Gameweek 31. He's got Palace away and then Bournemouth home, so that's better than Anderson's fixtures, for example, and there's a strong chance of a double in 33. It's possible that the optimal chip strategy is actually to save your wildcard and instead free hit double Gameweek 33 and then wildcard in 35, maybe bench boost in 36, as opposed to the other popular strategy being touted, which is currently wildcard 32, bench boost 33, free hit 34. So yeah, that is one case for buying Hall or Chow over a Fulham defender this week. And it's also a case for keeping Haaland, since City do have a good chance of doubling in 33. And a small chance even of playing in 31, but we're talking like 5%. Fulham, Newcastle, Man United are joint top on the latest projected goals odds with 1.9 goals. Villa 1.8, Liverpool 1.7, Chelsea 1.6. So Wilson, Gordon, Bruno, maybe Rodgers on a 1 week punt, Zabozlai, Ekatike, João Pedro Palma all look good there. The most sold players, of course, basically entirely players without a fixture or injured this week. So yeah, Rice, Timber, Haaland, Semenyo, Munoz, Sarr, Chalobah, Gudmundsson, Dorgu, Tarkowski, etc. Chalobah will stretch it off in the Champions League midweek, so it's not looking good for Gameweek 31. Could be out a while. Salah also asked to be substituted in Liverpool's 4-0 win over Galatasaray, where they actually look back to their very best. Salah got 1 goal, 1 assist that game. He also missed a penalty. It was a strange game for Salah. He played really badly in parts, but then also fantastic in other parts. Slot said the following on him: he was asking for a substitution, not because he felt he'd scored enough, but he felt something. So let's see where he is for the weekend and afterwards. Despite the blank game week, there's actually no chips active this week at all in the entire Experts League, which is something that we discussed in the last several Experts videos. Like, this is a game week that on paper is easy enough to navigate without a chip, just with a little bit of pre-planning, and the use of a chip in a later double game week or a blank game week could prove more beneficial. If you are free hitting for Gameweek 31, then this is the team of the week from FPL.page. This uses FPL reviews projections to basically build the best possible team or optimal team. It's changed a little bit since the team selection video because of Salah's flag. That means he's dropped out, plus a couple of other tweaks. So the team is Martinez, Anderson, Hall, Tete, Chow, Bruno, Gordon, Palmer, Rogers, Wilson and Thiago, with a bench of Vicario, Cash, Bowen and Cavallon. There are very marginal differences between combinations though. For example, I'd probably drop one Newcastle defender and play a striker for the upside. It doesn't have to be Bowen or DCL, like you got Ekatike, you got João Pedro, they're great as well. But that should be a very good guideline or a foundation if you're free hitting this week. So let's move on to Gameweek31 Captaincy. For the blank game week, 91% are going with Bruno, who's the overwhelming favourite, and then just 4% Wilson, 2% Gordon, and then Palmer, Salah and Thiago with 1% each. It's really hard to look past Bruno with the season he's having. No one's got more double-digit returns than his 10. Haaland's got 9. 24 big chances created by Bruno, 9 more than any player. But also he's got the direct goal threat. He's top 5 for shots taken by midfielders. Only Cunha, Semenyo, Rogers and Gakpo have taken more shots. 18.02 expected goal involvement ranks top of all midfielders this season. If you really want to target that Burnley fixture, then Wilson's probably the best pick. Raul's of course got some potential as the striker there for Fulham, but we are expecting an early sub as usual, so you're banking on him getting the job done early because there's probably no chance of a late goal from him. Who are you guys going with this week for captain? I've just stuck a captain poll up on my channel, so get your votes in. And make sure you subscribe. Tap the subscribe button below to keep up with the top all-time managers free every week for the run-in. So let's move on to the experts team with a few changes this week. Dubravka comes in goal given Raya blank, and then in defence it's Anderson, Chow and Van Dijk. The midfield 5 is Bruno, Wilson and Mbumo, Rogers and Dango, and then up front it's Thiago and Ekatike. The experts team's even got Hill on the bench for depth just in case there. So Timber, Haaland and Rice drop out of the team, Chow, Rogers and Ekatike come in. If you're set up similarly to this, then you're in a very good position for Gameweek 31 and you've got a high chance of a green arrow. Haaland's ownership drops down to 63%, so now he's the third most owned forward, but he is still in the majority of teams, that's worth noting. The majority are keeping him. There's probably about a 5% chance that Man City versus Palace stays in Gameweek 31. We're not expecting it to happen though, as the Premier League could just as easily drop it in a later game week in the scenario where it'd even be possible to move it into 31. However, if you are keeping Haaland, there's no reason not to start him. Worst case scenario, he just auto subs off for you. We'd probably get an announcement ahead of the deadline anyway if it happens, and Palace would need to lose in the Europa Conference League, so by the time you're watching we might know anyway. Moving on to final thoughts and tips, here's what the top all-time managers wanted to say to you this week. FPL Fady says, we're coming into a crucial juncture in the season. The two key fixtures coming up are the Crystal Palace Europa Conference League game and the Man City vs Liverpool FA Cup game. If Crystal Palace go out, the calendar opens up for the Man City vs Palace game and it will likely come forward from 36, possibly even to 32. Right now, in the best scenario of Palace and Man City progressing, I think there's a case for free hit 33, wildcard 35 and bench boost 36 being better than the wildcard 32, bench boost 33, 3 hit 34. Especially if you don't own many from the big teams likely to blank in 34, like if you don't own Man City, Arsenal and Chelsea players, or not many of them. Right now I'm in that boat. I can already field a strong outfield team in Gameweek 34 and I just need a goalkeeper transfer. If you go down the wildcard 32 route, I'm a bit wary of filling 5 or 6 spots in my squad with players from Brighton, Newcastle and Burnley for bench boost 33 and then spending the rest of the season trying to fix my team. Obviously if Palace go out of Europe and Man City versus Palace goes to Gameweek 32, then I'll just switch to wildcard 32 as I'd have no Man City or Palace for a double Gameweek 32 and you'd have consecutive double game weeks in 32 and 33. Likewise, if Liverpool beat City in the FA Cup, I'd switch to wildcard 32 as I have triple Liverpool and Arsenal and no Man City, so I wouldn't be able to navigate blank Gameweek 34 without a chip. Tor FN says, don't use any chip, better to field 9 to 10 players than using a free hit, you will need it later. Damien says, a lot has been made in the press about the decline of the Premier League. Nowhere is that more evident than in FPL. Coming into the home stretch and it's still not really clear who's any good with few guaranteed options. Unpredictability is usually a good thing in sport, but this feels more like persistent underperformers from expected FPL assets rather than overperformance from underdogs, coupled with what now looks to be a fairly insipid set of double game weeks makes this season feel like it's ending with a whimper rather than a bang. And lastly, FPL Rubber Ducky says, this is a really tough game week with more than one eye on the next couple of game weeks. I'm trying not to put all my duck eggs into one basket, but at the same time, with a 3k overall rank, I'm trying to survive one game week at a time as we edge closer to Gameweek 38. Taking that into consideration, with every game week feeling like a vital step closer, and considering how the Premier League champions are likely to be secured sooner than later, now feels like a moderate risk-free time to sell Haaland and Rice. Rice has not returned many points recently, but owning him has harmed my rank, but I'm conscious that to bring him in it's going to cost me 0.5 mil. I'm not as concerned with Haaland however, but at this rank I'm competing with managers who will play a very boring safe game, and as a result they will own Haaland. And as a result, to protect myself, I wouldn't be surprised if I bring him back on my wildcard. I also have my free hit to help me get through another game week, so not too many game weeks to navigate. The bringing in of Bowen and Gordon seems straightforward, and it saves the need to use a free hit. A lot could change as news regarding blank and double game weeks emerge though. So we'll wrap up there. Thanks very much for watching guys. We're going to be live on Friday evening for the deadline stream as always. See you then.